coming is Lance and the requirements for me is to have curb and gutter there.
Curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
And sidewalk, yeah. And I agree with the sidewalk. The curb and gutter, so it's in Cornerstone neighborhood, which Cornerstone doesn't have any curb and gutter as is.
Can I pull up I share my screen about a picture where this is at?
Yeah,
Yep.
I was ready to pull up a map, so that'd help.
So I'll do this one first. So this shows where it's at. His lot is right here. There is curb, gutter, and sidewalk through this. There's curb, gutter, sidewalk here. In Cornerstone, there is sidewalk and a swale. But when I was talking with him, the P&Z ordinance has required him to actually submit a subdivision to do this. And because of the subdivision requirements, and this distance is less than 200 feet, the requirements for a subdivision are to have curb, gutter, and sidewalk. It is adjacent to curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and that's why I talked with Logan earlier about requiring curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
Yeah, so, and I understand and it makes sense. Although with just where it is, I believe that the curb and gutter that's just south of me can terminate right at my driveway. And then after my driveway is north of it, I don't believe there should be curb and gutter because of how the Cornerstone neighborhood is laid out. And right across the street from my lot, they have the same situation and they don't have the curb and gutter right there. It's the drainage swell and then the sidewalk. So that's what I would like to do. I don't want to have to run the curb and gutter all the way to the end of my lot.
Could you pull that map up again, Lance?
Yes, I will.
Because I remember when we did that ordinance, and part of the reason on the narrower lots was because you couldn't get the amount of drainage you needed.
You can see there across the street, it's the same situation. And so I'm
Well,
fine.
across the street was in the subdivision when it was platted before.
Right.
Your lot was not in the subdivision when it was platted before.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking is an exception for my particular lot there. I'm fine with running the curb and gutter that's there to my driveway because my driveway will be on the south part of my lot right there. But then north of that, I want it to that drainage swell to continue down from the north neighbor to match what the one is across the street.
Can you slide that down so we can see that house right to the north of him, Lance? The full lot. What's the
This lot,
frontage?
you mean?
Yeah, what's the frontage? Because those look like they've got more frontage than his.
So that's about 86, 87 feet. And his is about 88 feet. But again, this was platted and approved as a subdivision with the swells quite a while ago, Cornerstone. So when it went in, it met the current standards and we didn't have the 200-foot average frontage or you needed curb, gutter, and sidewalk. That requirement went in 2017.
Yeah, and that requirement says that you need the curb and gutter within a subdivision and if it's less than 200 feet, but it doesn't consider the fact if it's a smaller subdivision inside of a bigger subdivision, you know, and I just don't think it'd make sense to do that curb and gutter right there with that drainage swell right there.
Yeah, one of the reasons, again, we did that was because we learned through experience that those drainage swales weren't adequate and they were damaging the road. And that's why we went to curb and gutter and did it on, you had to have 200 feet because then you had enough area to take care of the drainage and keep it off the roads.
Is it adequate there, Lance? Do you know? Have you looked at it?
Well, so here's a Google Earth image of where this is at. And right through here, if you have, well, so you can see on this side, the swell is not adequate. The swell over here is not what it's supposed to be. It's not deep enough. And on his lot, if he has a 30-foot wide driveway, to get the amount of stormwater volume retention that he would require, it would probably be deeper than 18 inches deep to get it in a swell.
You need to install the sub-basin drains in it. Take care of the volume.
Well, that's another option, but it is a fairly spendy option to get that underground system installed.
The curb and gutter would probably be cheaper than that.
Is that your concern, Logan? Is just the cost, or is that your primary concern?
That's a concern because I have to meet with an engineer to do drawings, plus the cost of the curb and gutter, but also the aesthetics of the street right there. I don't think if I did curb and gutter on my lot, it would be the only curb and gutter right there in Cornerstone. Across the street doesn't have it. North
Curb and gutter adjacent to it.
There is just south, but we can terminate that right at my driveway, and then north of my driveway will look like the rest of Cornerstone.
I don't know what your thinking is, Brian, but you know, having struggled with this and realized it was a mistake earlier, and we've had all kinds of problems with drainage out there. You know, it's unfortunate that this has changed, but you know, it's a choice. Do we make it match the south side or the north side? And I'm more inclined to go with the curb and gutter to match the south side, because wherever we need to protect our roads from that drainage. And a swale deeper than the 18 inches will be hard to maintain and probably sometime in the future get filled in. And then we have the problem we're having in many of those subdivisions. That's why we changed this.
Yeah, I understand. If it was adequate to contain it, and if we knew it was going to stay there, then I see the logic in terminating it at the driveway, because aesthetically it makes a good break. But if it's not adequate, and it sounds like it's not, if it has to hold 18 inches there, then I can understand the problem. It seems like, yeah, we wouldn't have much choice if there's not enough drainage there to hold it.
So I think we're going to have to live by the ordinance and not do an exception. So you start doing that, then you become a little more arbitrary after the ordinance is passed.
All right, I just don't think it'll match at all right there where the neighborhood is. But
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. I do.
okay,
Okay.
well, I appreciate your time.
Sorry we couldn't be helped.
Thanks.
You unshare your screen, Lance. Yeah, he was a different issue than the one I was talking about. It must be Rick Butler that was talking about the bridge.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Rick Butler was the one that I corresponded with last night on email.
Oh, Okay, Rick.
Hi,
Explain to Lance the area you were talking about and the concern.
hi Lance, how's it going?
Okay, I am very well aware of this location.
I'll bet you are.
Are you
No,
Butler Engineering, by the way?
No,
Oh.
I know Lance because I used to be on the Ammon Planning and Zoning Commission when Lance was the engineer out there.
Okay.
But I live in Red Rock now, and there's been some discussion on basically on Facebook among some people in the neighborhood. There are some people who want to change the school zone from being basically all day long to, you know, just periodically when the kids are getting in and out of school. But for me, I think the big issue really is the bridge. You know, and I've seen out there when kids are basically getting out of school, they're having to walk across that bridge, and just looking at Google Maps and doing a little measurement, it looks like it's about 30 feet wide, which seems like it should be wide enough. But I got to tell you, when there's kids walking across there and cars going by at 40 miles an hour because they don't pay any attention to the school zone, somebody's going to get hurt. That's my big fear. And I'm kind of wondering if there's something we can do about it. You know, building a temporary footbridge to the side of the bridge to get kids off the bridge, and I realize there may not be anything we can do, but I sure thought I'd ask.
So I've actually discussed this multiple times with the school district, and we've talked about a few ideas. The last idea that I talked with the school district about is creating a temporary footbridge over there and putting it in and seeing whether it could be part of a senior project or something else. My idea was maybe a couple storage containers, those 40-foot storage containers. If we could get a crane and lift that into place, put some concrete abutments outside of the channel and put a storage container across there and use that as a temporary pedestrian crossing. Gordon Howard with the school district thought that was maybe a good idea, and he was going to take that back to the school board and see whether anybody on the school board thought that this might be a good idea. I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
Talking about the Sand Creek Bridge there.
Yes.
On the road.
On Iona Road, yeah.
Right.
Sand Creek, not the smaller canal to the east.
It
Right.
is Sand Creek, and it's a pretty wide canal at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, doing a little measurement on Google Maps, it looks like the bridge is about 75 feet long, so it is pretty wide.
Yeah.
And the storage units that work to span that?
Well, so they have storage units or those containers that are 40-foot long. And if you've got two of them and we're able to weld it together, you might be able to span it with an 80-foot section and have some concrete abutments that you just pour in and lift into place. The school district and I both had some worry about that type of thing is, you know, do you have to light it inside because of pedestrians? Do you have to cut windows in it? Do you have to put railing in it? I mean, there's all sorts of other things, but looking at the options, if I go out to design for a footbridge, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Mm.
If I do something like this with storage units, I think the money portion of it drastically drops. It still doesn't get the kids on a sidewalk over there, but it allows me to maybe go after a TAP grant. Here a couple of years ago, I did go to the TAP grant, but I did not include a bridge due to the environmental concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'd put the environmental concerns in a TAP grant, I might as well try to span the Snake River.
Yeah, okay.
What's our, you know, looking at the BMPO schedule, you know, because that's one of the areas we're going to focus on, you know, for Rick's edification. We're working on priorities of some of those roads out there to, let me ignore that. To upgrade some of those roads right now. Today, we're going to be going over 45th East and looking at burying that canal so we can start getting that to a 3-lane. In hindsight, this is one of those things that we've done now. We make the developers build the road to the center section. If we would have done that along with all along that Iona Road, you know, that project wouldn't be so expensive. But we're starting to plan that. But you know, bridges are an expensive part of that, and I don't know where we are and how long would it take to get that in the plans.
I've looked at the bridge itself, and the shape of the condition of the bridge is such that I couldn't get it ranked right now. I couldn't even get it in the system. I've tried for another bridge on 5th West for 3 different years now, which is in much worse shape, and I still haven't got it on this into the system yet.
Is it in good enough shape that we could, if we were to do a road improvement out there, I'm not, you know, in the next 2 to 5 years, depending on when we get our funding and our priorities done, that you could add a couple segments on the end of that bridge, still continue to use the existing bridge, or is that a waste of money?
It gets complicated, and there's no clean answer because the bridge is in good enough shape now, but in 10 or 15 years, you have this new addition that's good for 50 years, and you have to replace the other section that's now in a situation where you have to replace it. So you can't, it's really hard to replace a portion of a bridge that's bad and leave the portion of the bridge that's good.
Well, the next question would be, what did the bridge on Lincoln cost us? I know that it's wider than this would need to be.
Yeah, I think that bridge cost, I think it was like 1.3, 1.4 million.
How much you got in savings, Rick?
Well, I know some of the people that I, you know, talked to on Facebook were talking about, you know, maybe people could chip in and fund a sidewalk, you know, along there and a temporary footbridge to go along with the sidewalk. But I don't think they understand how much even a sidewalk would cost to put in. So
when I put in that TAP grant for the sidewalk from, it stretched down to past Red Rock entrances. It was still $185,000, I think.
wow.
And it didn't get ranked into the system. It wasn't necessarily because of the cost, but there was a number of other projects that scored higher in the need for it.
But are we going to submit that again?
What's that?
Are we going to submit that again?
I haven't planned on doing it, not until I understand whether or not we're going to get a temporary footbridge. Because that TAP grant I had the sidewalk coming up and still going over the bridge, still having the pedestrians cross the bridge, which is what Rick is saying is the problem.
It seems to me like your idea is really creative, Lance. I mean, I think that, you know, it's a good idea, but 80 foot is a long span. And I mean, you would never get an engineer stamp on that, I assume. You probably know better than I would.
It would be questionable whether I could get an engineer stamp, and that's why it would be a temporary type of fix that we could maybe make work.
I just worry about the liabilities, the safety issues. I mean, it would have to have windows cut through it. I wouldn't want a dark bridge for those kids, you know, that wide. Even for nefarious, you know, problems going on inside of it. And then secondly, welding those together for an 80-foot span, I don't know if that's safe or not.
On a zip line. Kids would love it.
Kids would love that.
It
One at a
certainly,
time.
it certainly needs it. I'm not discrediting, the need there. I do worry about the safety of a temporary thing like that.
Well, let us kind of continue to work with the school district and try to come up with something, and then kind of review our long-term plans, for getting those area roads out there. The worst right now is that out by Thunder Ridge. Once they passed that school bond, built that, we're scrambling. We're getting a couple projects done to alleviate that. But that's the worst bottleneck. But Iona Road is definitely a problem, becoming a problem.
So when I am working with the school district again on the signage for that. Gordon Howard has approached me recently and said he's found some solar equipped lights, flashing LED school zone signs that they can actually program and have them turn off and on. And so I told him just today, in fact, that they're willing to pay 50% of it if I'm willing to pay 50% of it. And our 50%, the county's 50% is almost $8,000 to get those signs. But the school district would actually program when those flashing LED signs would go on and off. And hopefully that would solve a little bit of the timing issues with the school and when it's out and when it's not.
I think that would be that. And I know that's what people are pushing for around here. There's a lady in the neighborhood that's apparently got a petition to get some flashing signs in there. And I know that one of the things that people have voiced a concern about is the positioning of the signs. On Iona Road, the school zone goes for over a mile.
It does.
You consider both sides of Ammon Road.
And it's because we've got school, you got high school, you got the middle school, and then on the other side of Ammon Road, you've got the elementaries. So.
Right. Well, one of the problems that people have voiced concerns about is, so the one sign for the elementary school is right next to the intersection of Ammon and Iona. So like if you're eastbound, and people are saying, I don't see that sign because they're focused on the stop signs, getting through the intersection, because that intersection does get busy sometimes. And so, that's one of the concerns that they've voiced. I'm wondering if that sign could be put down a little further, or I don't know.
It could. However, there's a problem with, we need to notify the people as soon as possible that there is a school zone there. And that's why it is placed where it is make sure that people understand that just because they crossed Ammon Road, the school zone is still there.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't know, maybe another sign further down or something. I don't know. But so here's another concern that I have, Lance. You have four entrances onto Iona Road in the middle of that school zone, south of Red Rock. You got Goldenrod, and then I can't remember the other street is Ivory. And so you've got cars coming onto Iona Road from both sides of Iona Road there that you don't see a school zone sign. And, I forget. So I pull out on the road heading towards Ammon Road. I'm like, oh crap, I'm in a school zone. I'm already going 40 miles an hour, And so I see that as a problem. And I know that a lot of people are complaining about, on Facebook, I see that a lot of people are complaining that people just aren't paying attention to the school zone. And I know that's a problem, but everywhere.
And honestly, I'm afraid that if I put up more signs, people will just ignore those signs too, Rick.
Well, I'm sure they will, but like I say, I forget about them. I mean, I know I should know, but I forget about them, and I'm sure other people do too. And I guess that's my concern, is just a reminder for some people, hey, we're in a school zone. I don't know. I don't know if that's a solution or not. But
I wish more signage meant more compliance, but it doesn't.
well, and I realize that part of that is enforcement, and I know our sheriff's department's probably stretched pretty thin. So, but
They're all at the M and Walmart, Rick.
are they?
They still spend an awful lot of time at Walmart.
Oh man. Okay, well, anyway, at least I have something I can report back to people a little bit. I mean, I've taken this on myself I contacted Penny, Penny Manning. I grew up kind of with Penny, so I know her. And I thought, well, she'd be a good contact to see where we can go with this. And so she put me on you guys. So I appreciate that.
And anytime you want to talk to me, Rick, too, I mean, I'm more than willing to talk with you. So.
All right, I appreciate that. I do think that, I mean, if we can do it, I think the thing with the cargo containers is a good idea if we can make it work. Lance, question for you, where those cargo containers are only 40 feet long, would you need to get the approval of the canal company to put an abutment in the middle of the canal?
Well, that's why I'm saying you try to weld two of them together and span the whole thing, get out of the ordinary high water mark, and then it doesn't affect the canal company.
Oh,
And
okay.
Sand Creek is a hybrid. Sand Creek is part flood control channel, part natural flow, and part irrigation water. So that's where that whole environmental concern, if I tried to do a bridge with a abutment in there, it'd take 15 years to get through. So I'm looking for something else that would span over the whole thing, not get into the environmental concerns and not get into the whole NEPA process.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time.
Well,
So,
thanks for making us aware, more aware, because we are aware. We're just struggling with that growth out there.
I know. And like I say, I guess my big worry is that with the growth out there, it hasn't been too much of a problem in the past, but now with the growth, and I see those kids walking across the bridge and I just cringe.
And it is unfortunate that most of those kids also have safety busing offered, but they won't do it because it takes them longer on the bus than it does to walk.
Yeah, I can understand that. I've resorted to, like, during the day when when the school zone is in place, I go out to the north and go down Yellowstone. I avoid it entirely. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks a lot.
Rick.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Okay, Lance, do you want to explain these piping projects?
So on the piping project, you've got, one is the scope of work that just talks about what JUB is going to perform for us. And if you're okay with that, they'll probably come back with an actual contract agreement. The second document there is the anticipated labor cost to do the design and bid and inspection for the first phase from First Street up to Green Willow.
Let's see, is Green Willow?
Green Willow is the entrance into Thunder Ridge High School.
And you think that's all we could get done?
Well, so we may be able to get a little bit more done than that, but I would much rather go with the canal company and say, this is what we're trying to do for phase one, and deliver very firmly on that. And then they'll work with us better on the other phases.
Okay. But would we be able to Well, let's see. Because if we got that done this winter, we'd have a hard time getting a road widening project out for this summer. But we could probably for the next summer. Would we be
Well,
able?
if we use our own funds, probably. But
Yeah.
if you look at the scope of work, you're looking at the schedule, which is on page 104. The schedule now for what we're trying to do is pretty tight now.
But yeah, the thing I'm wondering about is once we have this, then if you do the next phase of the project the same time next year, you'll have a little more lead time. Then you'd
Yeah.
be ready with the canal buried, so that we could maybe do a mile of that road widening a year from this summer.
Yes, I think would be set up to be able to do that. And the plan right now is, again, we go from this first phase up to Greenwillow in the spring, and then next fall, late fall, we build up to the mile section, and then it'd be 2022 summer for a road construction project of widening out.
You okay with that, Brian?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's great.
Let's get moving on as fast as we can.
Yeah,
Okay, I will tell them that we're okay with the scope of work, we're okay with price estimate, and they'll get a contract over to me.
Where are we on the first read?
First and 45th, they poured the concrete truck apron yesterday. They're gonna do an early concrete test on Friday. If it's up to speed, we got close to 4,000 PSI as a break. We're gonna open the traffic next Monday morning.
Yeah, I drove through there, it's just about dusk, and they were, I can't remember, it was last weekend, and they were out finishing some of the little asphalt aprons on the approaches, so that it would be more helpful, but I can't remember his name, the guy from TMC. That's what he said. It was probably going to be the following Monday because of the weather, that cold spell, they couldn't pour.
Yeah, they couldn't pour because of the cold and because their subcontractor was committed to a different subdivision. So I think if they hadn't been committed to the other subdivision, we would have got it and we would have had the blankets on and heaters out there. But we weren't able to, so they did pour it yesterday.
Okay, what else you got?
There is a right-of-way contract and warranty deed for parcel 17.
Are those on Zoom? Or I mean on DocuSign?
DocuSign, yeah, it should be on DocuSign. So this is the Boyle property, and it is the eastmost parcel on the 1st and 45th intersection. But because of how the plans were and the road was coming back in, I didn't wait to get this right-of-way parcel here. We didn't actually touch this parcel, but it makes it so that in the future, when First Street goes out, widens, we're set up for it. So this has been, because of COVID, it's been tied up in court for the last 9 months, 10 months. We finally got it done.
Trying to pull these DocuSigns up.
It's a very small little portion. It was only $630, I think, $631.
Is this the board order?
No, the board order is something else.
Explain that. Well, I got it pulled up so we don't have to.
So the board orders are directions from you for the utilities to move their facilities at the Great Western Canal Bridge, which is due to start construction next month.
And they're being slow and reluctant?
Well, they're not being slow or reluctant. this just tells them they've got to move their stuff. They've already signed waivers of what their rights are, or their hearings or whatever. They've been signed close to 2 years ago, I believe. This just tells them we are actually constructing the bridge and you have a short amount of time to get your stuff moved.
Okay. You okay with that, Brian?
Yeah,
And there are 4 of them there. You'll have
Right.
to sign each one of them.
I've signed them. I think it just required my signature.
it's just yours, yeah. And who is they moving it?
So there was CenturyLink, Rocky Mountain Power, Intermountain Gas, and I think the 4th was Sparklight too.
Okay. Yeah, we're not gonna end up in a delay on this project, are we?
We better not.
No, we have no choice
They've
on.
already, yeah, they've already said that they're good with this. And so board orders direct them really strongly to get moving very quickly. If they have a problem with us, they have to work with it. We have a very short time frame to build this bridge this winter.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the next one I show is the local professional service agreement with ITD.
That is for the construction, engineering, and inspection for the Great Western Canal Bridge. It's Keller Associates. They are going to be providing the CE&I on the Great Western Canal Bridge.
Okay, you're okay with that one?
Yeah,
Okay. Next one is lease agreement Baldwin Pit.
So this is actually a written lease agreement with Dean Price to actually pay money for use of part of what the county owns as Baldwin Pit. He has been using close to 14 acres of the Baldwin Pit for a lot of years now and has never paid a single dime.
This is $200 a year.
$200 a year. It's commensurate with what we did with the Taylor Pit.
That's for that many acres. That's probably,
Well, so we cut them back to about 7 acres.
yeah, that's probably a good price you'd get if you're grazing, because it's kind of dry grazing type ground.
Yeah, it is dry grazing. We were going to raise the price if he wanted to have it irrigated, but he decided to do it as dry grazing.
Yeah, 'cause that won't support many pairs for very long.
No, it won't. He understands that supposedly. So
Okay, we okay with that one?
yeah.
Okay,
then the McKee Park subdivision, they were not able to get the signatures on the plat, and so that'll have to be postponed.
that's the last one I show, right?
It should be the last one you show, yeah.
Yeah, so we just won't sign that one then. Okay. Anything else?
Any luck with the snow plowing on Grays Lake?
I called him and put Brian on speakerphone so he heard it. He said he was gonna try to get it on their agenda next Monday when they meet.
Okay. Having that agreement in place we need to get it as soon as we can, but also with snow plowing, Bingham County is starting to, well, they were discussing it earlier today too, whether they're gonna go with a closure and what dates it's gonna be, and they were wondering what we had as far as a resolution or ordinance.
Ruby's trying to find that.
Yeah, and I was searching through the information we had this morning too, about all the resolutions, the ordinances, the exhibits, and I wasn't finding a whole lot of information to share with Bingham County about what we do. I don't know if you recall when that happened or when the whole November 15th, no maintenance happened.
I don't.
Okay. Well, we'll keep working through that and seeing if we can find it. I know Ruby's gonna try, so.
Okay.
We did go through, we sent graders up Monday. On Monday, they made it all the way through into Grays Lake area. They did Dan Creek, they did parts of Brockman. They cleaned it out. And so if anybody is not got their cows out yet, they really have no excuse because the roads were opened up enough for them to get out Monday and yesterday. And we do not. What's that?
Whitney Manwaring sent me some pictures from up there. Holy smokes. It looked like 7 or 8 foot drifts, you know, along pretty long sections of road.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of snow up there. I saw some pictures too, and I haven't been up there, but it was pretty amazing.
Whitney said something I thought was interesting, Roger. He said the biggest problem is fields that have been coming out of CRP, and it's just bare ground and all the snow is going right into the road.
Yep, that's what I worry about. You know, like up on Jolly Hill or, you know, up by Rhodes's.
Yeah.
Break. You know, it finally got to where that'll hold a lot of it, but the CRP helps it too. I mean, if you had all of those fields wide open blowing there, you'd fill in the living windbreak, and then you'd have some big tunnels.
The other thing that you got to be aware of when they're taking everything out of CRP is we also increase tremendously our flood risks for the fast melts and the runoff.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not going to snow.
Right. What was that, 7 foot deep you said?
Well, that was the whole field put in the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
In one drift.
Yeah.
Okay. You have anything, Steve?
A suggestion, if we're doing a bridge, I would really prefer to stay away from the storage containers. We already have issues with people trying to set stuff like that too close to the road. I think we could probably come up with an alternate design with just some steel beams to span it and some temporary deck and rails on it, or make it more like a normal walking bridge rather than trying to adapt those containers to it.
I was just thinking cost wise, those shipping containers are fairly inexpensive, so.
Yeah.
How much are steel beams that big?
I don't know what, I'm guessing like a 61 pound per foot is what they would run. You take 2 of them, so about 120 pounds per foot plus the deck. You could probably do the deck with a diamond plate. I don't know what poundage cost is on steel right now. If it's, I'd have to call and find out.
Anderson Manufacturing has got, have you guys seen those steel I-beams sitting out in front of their place? They've been there for maybe a dozen years, 10 years. I almost bought a bunch of those to build a bridge across the Great Western Canal on our place. And then I went a different way, but I'll bet we could get those really inexpensive. They're really long. They've been there a long time. Maybe.
How big are they size-wise?
They're, I can't remember for sure. They're big. They're pretty good size. They're probably, I don't know, 8-inch, 10-inch.
Want to check on those, Lance?
Yeah, I'll check on those and see if we can get maybe a structural engineer to give us some ideas for what the structure would need to be to span 80, 85 feet.
Yeah, because if they were long enough, and you might even talk them into donating it to the school.
That's what I'm wondering. They're right there along Yellowstone Highway, right there at Anderson Manufacturing.
Okay, I'll check into it a little bit and see what I can find out.
If you go take a look at them, Lance, could you just get the dimensions, height and width?
Yeah,
Okay. I haven't got anything else of concern, so.
okay,
All right, thank you.
yep.
Right, thanks.